Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel, O.G.Starwars, and I'm gonna go ahead and invite you to grab your favorite beverage, just like I do with my coffee chat. Grab your favorite beverage and join me as I go over and discuss the rewrite of the Battle of Hoth, Leia's I guess you can say demotion as general, as well as go over Rieekan's significance in the story. This is a long topic, and so we'll be here for a little bit. So grab your coffee and let's get to going. So basically, and I have this up here. I hope you guys like that. So basically, Disney rewrites the Battle of Hoth as a celebration tribute to Empire Strikes Back in a long time ago galaxy far, far away. And we all grew up loving Star Wars. We got into Star Wars basically to through our parents, through our families, or whatever age, whether we are with the OT/PT introduction, or we introduce our kids through for Star Wars through the movies. And that was the long time standing here, is that Star Wars basically, was just the movies and the EU. Then we have Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, the Clone Wars, and of course the droid cartoons, the Ewok cartoons. And so we were introduced through everything with the movies first. And that is pretty much the foundation of Star Wars anyways, is the movies as well. So when we now have, through the new owners, and, it's been 5 years since they, acquiesced the new, not the new franchise, but basically Lucasfilms, they basically decided that they wanted to start with a clean slate. And so they went ahead and made the EU non-canon and coined it legend, so that they have a huge, area of time frame to work on to recreate the stories in their own image. And so a lot of fans, like myself included, were like, not really fond of that decision that they did. They have every right to do that. But we were still curious. There's a lot of us that were still curious to see what they were going to produce and how well they were going to honor George's legacy with Star Wars. And that's the movies, the 6 original films. And even Clone Wars was canceled and put on the back burner and coined Legends for a short time. And now it is officially Disney canon. And so we're going to go through the article with Bounding into Comics and go over the significance of what's going on with this rewrite and the Battle of Hoth. So let me go ahead and share that with you here. I'm going to make it a bigger screen so you guys can see. So Bounding into Comics, and this is by and thanks to John F. Trent. So thank you so much for writing this article and expanding more onto what's going on in this situation here. Disney rewrites the Battle of Hoth for Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back 40th Anniversary Celebration. Let me expand this a little bit more. There we go. Disney Lucasfilm continues their work to erode the original trilogy that they begin with The Force Awakens. And so The Force Awakens was a soft reboot of A New Hope. And that's what a lot of fans, whether they liked it or not, has noticed. At first reported by Disney Star Wars is done, Star Wars and Lucasfilm released a new animated Star Wars kids short that reinvents the Battle of Hoth, first shown in The Empire Strikes Back. Star Wars Kids released the first 4 parts that retells the Battle of Hoth. And here is the clip here. In this short, and I'm going to play just this little section, so hopefully I don't get a strike. The short begins with a voice-over. The Empire Strikes Back as Darth Vader leads an attack against Leia's rebels on Hoth. And yes, she is the ambassador of the Alliance. She is the princess still. She still has many Alderaanians that look up to her and to her for guidance in the lore. And she is also in a senatorial position, which means that she is basically Mon Mothma's right-hand person, as we know, established in the lore. So she has a lot more leadership clout than just as general. All right. So, and we will expand on that in a few minutes. The first scene sees a rebel soldier then tells Leia, General, there's a fleet of Star Destroyers coming out of hyperspace in Sector 4. And where's the rest of that? And it doesn't look like it's there. And so I'm going to go ahead and play the video instead of searching and seeing what the heck's going on here. Let me see. Let me scroll down. And there we go. Leia responds, it's risky, but we can't hold out much longer. From the very beginning of the short, it's altering what actually happened in Empire Strikes Back. And I have stated that they need to stay with integrity if they're going to use these cartoons to introduce future generations to Star Wars, even though the movies were successfully doing that, just recently before the acquisition of Star Wars by Disney. Then they need to maintain integrity. And every single character that interacts with the three main characters has a significant role towards those, main characters, and that's including Rieekan. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video right here.
There's a fleet of Star Destroyers coming out of hyperspace in Sector 4.
It's risky, but we can't hold out much longer.
So there you have it. So that's the actual clip that I am touching bases on, but there is more, and I'm not going to go too much further into that, but you guys will get the hint. So from the very beginning of the short, it alters what actually happened in Empire Strikes Back. What actually happened is that a rebel soldier informs General Rieekan of the Imperial fleet emerging out of hyperspace. As you can see in the clip below, which I will play next, the soldier tells Rieekan, General, there is a fleet of Star Destroyers coming out of hyperspace in Sector 4. Rieekan responds, reroute all powers to the energy shield. Gotta hold them until all transports are away, preparing for ground assault. So basically, he is the leader of Hoth. And every single scene that's in this portion of Empire Strikes Back, basically the Battle of Hoth, he is receiving intelligence and giving orders. And if he's not there and he's taken out, then it screws up this whole scene. And Hoth doesn't make sense. There's no, even Han's telling him he needs to depart to take care of debt towards Jabba, basically. That alone expands Han's character as well, because we get a true understanding of what's going on with Han. If that interaction is not there and Rieekan's taken out, then there's nothing there for Han, and Han's arc doesn't get expanded as well. And so Rieekan does play a huge significance in this scenario in Empire Strikes Back. What happened is that the rebels, okay, I already read that. As you can see in the clip below, the soldier tells Rieekan, General, there is a fleet Star Destroyer and coming out of hyperspace. Rieekan responds to reroute all powers, so here we go. So I read that already, but
Coming out of hyperspace in Sector 4.
here we go.
Reroute all power to the
And
energy shield. Gotta hold until all transports are away. Prepare for ground assault.
And so you see there's his leadership, and he is basically given his commands and what he needs of his soldiers. And so he is showing and demonstrating the leadership within the Rebel Alliance. And that is very crucial because that lends to the overall story. And George was brilliant in creating a good story that one character builds up another. And this is what Rieekan does. And he builds up, the leadership in the Alliance. He builds up the Han's arc with his debt to Jabba, and also reiterates how well of a pilot Han is and how much he's going to be missed and how much Han is crucial to the Rebel Alliance. If that's all taken out, then we don't know. It destroys even, Han and Leia's arc as well. Luke never had any interaction, so it doesn't necessarily, but because he is the general and Luke has to basically respond to his commands and stuff, there is another significance. So basically the chain of order, the chain of command is structure defaces. It's no more. It's non-existence. And I don't think that even in this lore, this fantasy, I don't think that Disney Lucasfilm even considers that. There's huge significance. And so I'm going to go on. Not only does a short movie or the short remove Rieekan completely, but it also refers to Leia as general. She did not use the title in Empire Strikes Back, and that is correct. She was referred to as princess, and also she's an ambassador of the Alliance, and that's her title when you look up her information in the lore. Or if you follow the lore, you would understand that information. In fact, she did not take on the title of general until she formed the Resistance in Disney's sequel trilogy. And that is correct. So now we have to think with Disney canon or discanon, she held this title from all the way from, 3 ABY all the way to 35 or 34 ABY. It doesn't make sense, especially when she's a leader, a senatorial leader, and she becomes significant role in the building of the new republic. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. This isn't the only thing the short changes. The battle sequences are out of order as well. In the short, it shows Vader and his stormtroopers firing upon the Millennium Falcon first before Han activates his ship gun. So when you watch the movie, and I'm going to end here and we're going to go on Leia's arc and Rieekan's arc as well. So everybody was already mad when George Lucas made these little, changes, not, to the OT to either reflect the PT or just something that he wanted to change, that he thought that, it made better sense in his mind, in his creative mind towards his own product. And that includes who shot first between him and Greedo. We seen Han shot first. He changed it to Greedo shooting first. Or they shooting at the same time, or however you want to, translate that change. So now we have the same thing here. Han does shoot first when it comes to the scene, when Vader comes in and his troops set up the guns and everything. Han shoots them first, and this movie or this short animation clip shows that they shoot at Han first. So there you go. So if you don't like the fact that Han's arc was changed in A New Hope and to have Greedo shoot first, well, you shouldn't like this. So there's a bit of irony. There's a bit of like hypocrisy here. So here we go. We have Leia replacing Rieekan. Rieekan still, it basically is the significance to the overall story in the Battle of Hoth. And then we have Han again not shooting first. Think about that for a minute here. All right. So let's go ahead and expand a little bit more on Rieekan's arc here as well. So here is the scene I talked about when Han is telling Rieekan, I need to go. I have a debt to pay for Jabba, or, my life, basically is going to be cut short. And this is just my take on that. And Rieekan's like, I hate to see you go. You're a great pilot. We are going to miss you, basically. And that kind of, heaviness, debt hanging over your shoulders, is sorry, that's tough kind of situation. And so without this scene alone, it changes Han's arc. We don't know what's going on and why he has to leave, why he's repairing his ship. Why is he saying goodbye to Luke? Why, and why Leia is mad at him for leaving. Without this little notion in this interaction here with Rieekan, then we wouldn't know the depth of what's going on with Han and his arc. It does not get expanded, and it would be very confusing to watch it this forward. That's why Rieekan is, again, significant. So here's that scene again with Rieekan talking with his soldier here in the command center and getting the feedback and intelligence. So I'm going to expand some more on Rieekan. So, Rieekan was basically in Alderaan in general, And throughout his life, he served the Galactic Republic, the Alliance to Restore the Republic, the Alliance of Free Planets, the New Republic, and the Galactic Federation of Free Alliance. He was also part of the Clone Wars, or the Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars. And once Supreme Chancellor Palpatine took over as the emperor, then he basically switched sides. He deflected and joined the royal house of Alderaan and the Alliance to Destroy the Republic. And so we have him here as well, switching sides. And, of course, after, the Alderaan was destroyed, it basically sealed in the deal for him as well. And so he plays a significant role within the overall arc. And here is an EU version of him as General as well. And here is the clip animation of the actual cartoon, and then the remake by Stephen Wayne Art. And this got a lot of ridicule by those people who are defending these changes, and they are saying it's a children's cartoon, so don't take it to heart. It's not canon. And I say this to you guys as well then. If your logic is this is a Disney Star Wars cartoon to introduce kids to Star Wars, wouldn't you want it to remain to integrity to the movies so that when the kids watch it, the movies makes more sense to them? And then wouldn't you want them to know that George Lucas himself already created a strong female character lead through Leia? So showing her, abusing, and this is throughout the Galaxy Adventures short minis of the movies, she is basically slapping Luke. She's, basically ridiculing Han. And there's a lot of that going on just to make her look like she is a strong female character. George already established that in the movies. We don't need a remake of her, showing that the men are incompetent and that she's the hero. She already is a hero. She already is a strong female lead. We don't need this to be reimagined while the men of Star Wars are made to be insignificant. That's not how you build up a character, and that's not how you build up a person to be more likable. She already is. George already established this as well. So we have George Lucas here. And so in his overall movie and his lore, like I said, every single character, was significant, from the smallest to the most important. And they all built on top of each other. They all built the overall lore. And that's what I like about Star Wars, is that they all built on top of each other. And so the naysayers also say that, oh, well, he's not a significant character. No one remembered him. And talking with many on Twitter and basically social media, everybody, gave their statement about how much Rieekan left an impression on him just in those 7 or 8 scenes during the Battle of Hoth. And he was also made an action figure, not only like what you see here, but also with Legos and other things. He was an action figure, and he was purchased. He was played with as well from kids who grew up knowing him. And so why not keep him in the original clip, or in the clips, to build him up as a successful leader and general of the Alliance as well? So that I don't get. So Leia Organa Solo, basically her arc was retconned in the movies. She was never general, never. And so again, George Lucas, brilliant man. His movies were basically the foundations. The EU during his time frame and his era of Star Wars, expanded on it, but it never intruded in on the movies. And we're seeing that with Disney Lucasfilm, is that they are basically intruding on the overall continuity, I guess you can say. And so we have Leia, who is promoted through the comics, who is promoted through through the comics, Disney and Lucasfilm's comics by Mon Mothma. Jeez, I almost forgot her name. Mon Mothma as General. And this is before Empire Strikes Back. And she was never that title in the movies, and she never was that title even in Return of the Jedi. However, in Disney canon, she did have that title afterwards in, you know, the sequel trilogy as General. And so it'd make much better sense for that promotion to happen after the New Republic basically turns their back on her. And yes, they do. They turn their back on her because they find out who her father is. And so it's very different in the original lore versus the this canon. In the original lore, they did not turn her back on her. In fact, there's a time frame where they did vote her out and stuff. But overall story group or storyline is that she was still well respected by the New Republic for her standing as Bail Organa's daughter, as well as, you know, leading the rebel alliances. And in this canon, they turn her back on her for who she is. And then she forms the resistance and becomes a general, or is a general. So you want to believe, you know, like she held that title as general all the way that many years, like 31 years, without any promotions, even though she's also the one that founded the resistance. Does not make sense whatsoever. And so that little retcon right there, the movies, does not make a lick of sense as well. And so I question it. And during this time frame of me questioning over Twitter and having this discussion, I've been attacked for this opinion, sharing facts, and just going over and breaking over the overall continuity of the integrity of the Galaxy Adventures. And so I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in and listening to, you know, these facts and this information here regarding the Galaxy Adventures short clip of the Battle of Hoth, and how it has basically left out Rieekan again, following the other clips and really making them insignificant. Rieekan was a very significant character. Leia, basically, she was retconned and demoted as general, even though she wasn't that in the movies. She was an ambassador to the Alliance, a princess, and of Alderaan, and also a senator. And she basically was up in the leadership ranks as Mon Mothma. And so there's a lot of information to take here. Again, Disney Lucasfilm is going to eventually, you know, rewrite the OT and the PT. It's maybe not in our time, but this is a hint of the conditioning that they are doing for the kids. So when that time comes, it's an easy transition. They won't get a backlash as they are right now. And what I say with this now is that, you know, it's a cartoon, yes. But so was the Clone Wars. So was the Ewok movie. So was the droids. And so was Tartakovsky's Clone Wars. The adults are going to watch it just the same as the kids. And the adults who grew up with it, and even the teenagers or young adults who grew up with the OT and the PT, are going to call out any inconsistencies. It's going to happen. And it doesn't make them wrong, and it doesn't mean they're nitpicking. It just means that they know the lore. And it's okay if you know the lore, and it's okay if you call out the inconsistencies. And it's okay if you don't agree with the changes. It's okay. You're still a Star Wars fan. And it's okay if you don't agree with me. You're still a Star Wars fan. Just like I say, it's okay if you like only Disney Lucas or Disney Star Wars. You're still a fan. And it's okay if you like both and you choose your own canon. As the executive of the story groups, Matt says, make your own canon. Don't worry about canon. Don't worry about continuity. It's all up to you on what you want to make of it. And that's okay. And it's okay if you remain in George Lucas era of Star Wars and just love that came out of his time frame. And that's the movies, games, EU, all of that. It's okay. And so I'm going to close here. Let me know what you think about this overall topic. Do you like the changes? Do you not like it? Do you think it's okay that this is starting to retcon the OT and possibly the PT as well? Do you think it's okay for this change in Leia's stature and that also affects her in the movies, even though that's not who she was? She was not a general in the movies. So it's okay for you to start seeing these retcons towards the movies and that this is intruding the movies? So let me know how you feel in the comments below, and may the force be with you.